Hey guys, RJ here. Last week we got a crazy episode 7 of Westworld. A huge reveal at the end of the episode kind of gave me an opportunity to do a theory video, and I'd like to go over how I think Dr. Ford is going to meet his end. Let's get started. So guys, I think that Ford is pretty much all but confirmed the one that has killed Arnold in the past, even though that they haven't actually revealed it yet. I think it happened over creative differences where Ford wanted the park to be one thing, his personal sadistic playground where he can write all these storylines and control of the hosts and even the people working under him. Whereas Arnold kind of saw the hosts perhaps as the next step for evolution. Perhaps they would become a new life form and have their own consciousness and become something entirely their own. I also think it's safe to assume that Arnold, in one form or another, is still alive and well within the story of Westworld. Whether that be he's physically still alive and perhaps he faked his own death, but I think the more likely answer here is that he's actually become an artificial intelligence. Maybe he downloaded his brain into the consciousness of someone like Dolores, or perhaps it's actually in a centralized location within the park that he hasn't told anyone about. That I definitely just think that he's obviously still there. Someone's writing code, someone's doing something to these hosts, and I think he's the most likely suspect. Ford definitely has to die this season, not just because of a plot wrap-up for the season, but I think more in line with the fact that Anthony Hopkins is expensive as shit, and I really doubt that HBO is going to bring him back for another season. So with that all being said, it is one of the most popular shows on television now, and they're getting extremely high ratings, so perhaps they could, maybe push his death off into season 2, but I really think at the end of this season, he's gonna die, and let's talk about how. After last week's huge reveal, we found out that Bernard is clearly working as Ford's tool. He's been there for a really long time at the park, doing God knows what for Dr. Ford. I think that this is going to play a major role in moving forward, because why would Bernard be such a big character if he doesn't have some giant job to do for this show? And I don't think that just entails being Ford's pet. I think at the end of last episode, when we were down in that workshop, we actually saw Teresa's body getting created in that chamber, and I think that Bernard is going to be the one that has to work on her. And I think this definitely triggers something within Bernard. We can see in the preview for the coming weeks that he's basically lashing out at Ford saying, why do you make me kill her? Why do you make me do this? There could have been another way. And Ford, just responds with, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. And I think at some point here, Bernard is eventually going to snap and be the one to kill Dr. Ford. While it might not be directly, I definitely think that part of that is just because Ford trusts him so much that it would mean so much more if he ends up betraying him. And I think because of how much Ford trusts Bernard, he's going to give him a little too much leeway in designing Teresa, which I'll touch upon in a second. But I also think that it kind of points out the fact that Ford's end is going to be because of his hubris. He believes everything in the park is under his control, that there's no way anything could go wrong while he's there and nobody could ever touch him. And I think that he does not know about what Maeve has become, and I don't think he knows about the other hosts within the park that could be unsettled. I think he thinks it's just a little bit of a bug that he put in because of the reveries, and I don't think he sees the larger picture around him. To take that a step further, perhaps Bernard is the one that ends up programming Teresa to kill Ford. I think because Ford's going to have him work on her, he's once again become, attached to her, and I think that in the end, he might be the one that ends up programming her to perhaps at a particular moment where he know Ford is going to be vulnerable, he's going to have Teresa come out, basically stab Ford in the back or something like that. Maybe he introduced some custom programming that he created that Ford didn't know about. And I just think in the end, it would be really cool to have Teresa end up killing Ford, because you get that revenge factor, and it just would seal up a lot of the good plot twists within this show so far. I also think there's some really good wildcard characters in there that could end up doing Ford in. You can't count out Elsie, the Man in Black, and Maeve, because I think that those are the three most antagonistic characters towards Ford. And I think that Elsie definitely has the knowledge of the park, what's actually going on right now, to be able to undermine him. Plus, she's off-grid, so he can't track where she is, and, if she's actually still alive, of course. But then you have the Man in Black, who clearly has something against Ford with that bar scene that we saw a few weeks ago. And then you have Maeve, who definitely has a distaste for her creators, and I definitely think she could be one of the ones to help take him down. I think she's going to be more preoccupied with the fact of getting out of Westworld alive at this point. So in summary, I definitely think Bernard is the one that's going to end up doing in Dr. Ford. He's the closest to him. He has the most access. Ford trusts him way too much. He trusts his own creations way too much in general. But I think at the end of the day, the way that Ford forced Bernard to kill Teresa and has probably forced him to do God knows what, I think the bug with hosts remembering exactly what they've done before and what they'll do from now on, I think that's going to start affecting him. I think it's going to affect his judgment, and I think it will eventually do in Ford. But I think the bigger question here isn't just the end of this season, which will be great, and I cannot wait for it. I think the bigger question is once Ford is gone, who takes over after? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing these theory videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more of them from now on. And if you guys wouldn't mind, please subscribe to our channel, like our video if you liked it, comment down below, join us on social media for a conversation. And until next time, see you guys soon.